NFTs, non-fungible tokens. Today, guys, we're going to be talking about how you guys, the viewers, yes, I'm talking to you, can make money in the NFT space. So if you guys don't know me, my name is Bento Boy or Brandon Chin, and I've been in the NFT space for around a year now, and we have a very, very important YouTube video as I'm going to be showing you guys some of the most important lessons that I have learned, and we're going to be doing this by showing you guys some trades that I have made, good and bad. And I think I'm going to make this a series, maybe Bento trades NFTs, Bento sucks at NFTs. But yeah, I think that this YouTube video can be very, very insightful, and you might be wondering, who are those idiots buying those monkey JPEGs or those cat JPEGs for, a ridiculous amount of money? Well, you're looking at them. That is me. I am the idiot buying all of these JPEGs for a ton of money, and sometimes it turns out good, sometimes it doesn't turn out too well, but we're going to be covering that in this YouTube video. But as always, guys, just remember, nothing I say is financial advice. And another thing I do want to say is I think a lot of people have a misconception of influencers or people who post content in the NFT space. I think that a lot of people think that just because we have a following or just because we post content, we are naturally better traders in a way. And I can tell you that is not the case. I am still learning, and I have made basically every single mistake in the book. And I know a lot of my friends have also made bad trades. Not a lot of them like to talk about it because who likes to talk about losing money? However, I think that it's extremely valuable because it gives you guys insight, and it gives you guys, our thought process behind why things turned out the way they did. So typically these videos tend to do well on YouTube, so if you haven't already, please make sure to click the like button and subscribe down below. But that's enough blabbering. We're gonna get right into it. So the first trade, this is the one that I'm really excited to talk about because this is probably my worst trade in NFT history, and it's from the CyberKongz ecosystem. So if you guys don't know, the CyberKongz is a pretty prominent NFT set. It is a blue chip in my opinion. However, I made a very big mistake. So let me tell you guys a story real quick. I initially bought my first CyberKongz for around 6.5 Ethereum, and in the matter of a day or two, it ran up to, I think, around 8 to 9 ETH, and I actually sold, I believe, at 8.5, and I walked out with around 6 grand in 2 days. Not too shabby for the NFT space. And the reason why I bought the CyberKongz in the first place was because they were actually coming out with their game, and I used the strategy buying the rumor and selling the news, and it turned out pretty well, as you guys could see. However, things got bad once I felt FOMO. So one of my friends in the NFT space basically said he had some alpha, and he thought that the CyberKongz were going to push all-time highs. I basically walked out with a profit. I didn't really tell him I sold, but basically all my friends were saying, this is going to moon and it's going to go up a ton. So the CyberKongz were now at around 11 Ethereum, so it did rise a little bit more. And silly me just decided to buy in, and I, just listened. I just thought worst case scenario, I'm already up around $6,000. I can lose $6,000 and I just break even at the end of the day. However, that was not the case. So in short, the CyberKongz actually came out with their game, and once that happened, the price just absolutely nuked, and basically they just kept going down and down and down. So I think they reached a high of around 12 Ethereum, and now they are currently sitting at a floor price of around 2.7. So I am down horrendously on this NFT trade here, as you guys can see, and I think I lost over probably 20 grand plus on this CyberKongz NFT. Yes, So I basically lost $20,000 plus in the NFT space off of one NFT. Do I deserve it? Probably, but I've learned a lot of things just through this one trade. So some valuable takeaways that you guys can have so you don't make the same mistake as me. One, resist FOMO, and even if your friends are basically saying, trust me, bro, this is gonna go to the moon, make your own decision. At the end of the day, it's still my fault because I decided to buy the NFT. However, it does hurt. I don't care if it's in Ethereum. Losing that amount of money, especially at this age, is pretty painful. The second thing, don't be scared to cut losses. So once the news came out, there was a dip, and once that happened, I honestly, in hindsight, should have sold. I know it's easy to say now, but I should have just cut my losses, because once the news is delivered, there's essentially not a lot of speculation that can go on to push the price further, if that makes sense. So that's another valuable lesson. That's going to go for number 3. You want to sell the news. So when I bought my first CyberKongz and basically made around $6,000, I had it right then. I should have just took the money and left. I shouldn't have re-entered that trade and let FOMO get the best of me, because 9 times out of 10 in the NFT space, once a product or the P2E game is released, the project usually goes down in price, and that was a very important lesson, and I actually have a whole entire video on that if you want to check it out. Then number 4, take profits. I know people say it over and over. I took profits on the first trade. I didn't take profits on the second trade. Not that there was profit to be had, but damn, losing 20 grand sucks, guys. And then number 5, utility is kind of overrated, and even though the CyberKongz was like a really high tier NFT project, if you don't really really innovate in the space or really push it forward and you're one of the top sets, it's really hard to keep that floor price because a lot of the other collections are basically going to catch up to you. And if you don't keep pushing forward and if you don't stay on top, your floor price is inevitably going to go down. So that is something to keep in mind, and that's something you want to monitor, especially if you're investing a lot of money into a JPEG. So there was a lot to unpack there, and honestly, I think that that was probably my most painful trade. But I hope and pray that if you guys are in the NFT market or if you're trading NFTs, you guys are being safe and don't make the same mistake that I did, because it is not fun losing that amount of money. All right, guys, the second trade that I did want to go over is going to be the Mutant Ape Yacht Club, and this was actually a profitable one. So I actually bought around 5 apes for an average price of 4.5 Ethereum, give or take, and I actually ended up selling them once they went up in price. So there was a lot of attention on Twitter and people were basically hyping these things up, and it hit a floor price of around 9 ETH, and that's when I exited my whole entire position. In total, I made over $15,000 at the time, and I did learn a lot from this trade. The first thing I took away was bet on proven teams and not new mints, especially in this time period, guys. We are seeing a bear market right in front of us. So if you guys are planning to buy into a blue chip or hold for the mid to long term, it might as well be a proven project that has been in the space for a long time. The second takeaway is taking profits is fine. If I did hold all 5 of the mutants, I would be disgustingly rich. I probably could have profited over $100,000 total, but I did end up taking profits, and that's totally fine. I'm not kicking myself for it. At least that's what I tell myself to sleep at night. But overall, you can't go wrong taking profits. Then the last thing I did want to point out, and it kind of is similar to the Cyberkongs trade, is you want to be selling into strength. So everyone was basically super hyped about the mutants, and it was going crazy on Twitter, and that's basically the talk of the town. And that's when I decided to sell, because I thought that there was so much hype that it's bound to see a retracement, and it did. So once it hit 9 Ethereum, it actually retraced back to 6, and I did want to re-enter, but I just didn't. And then after it hit 6, it actually ended up going to 20 and then 30. So I could have made a lot more money, but it is what it is, guys. Then the fourth thing, if you can afford to hold it, you can hold blue chips, and I would only hold those. I know I said it earlier, but you might as well hold on to proven projects if you are going to do anything, because a lot of these other ones are going to go down to 0. All right, guys, now moving on to the third trade of this YouTube video. This is going to be the infamous Oni One Force trade, and a lot of you guys basically know what I'm talking about here if you have been a subscriber of the YouTube channel. But in short, I was basically new to the NFT space. I bought into the hype of these Oni One Forces because a lot of people were talking about it on Twitter. I made basically $15,000 in unrealized gains overnight. I didn't pull any profits, and then eventually I ended up selling a few months down the line for a $10,000 loss. And like I said, it's never fun losing money in the NFT space. So there's a lot of valuable lessons that you guys can take from this. One, if you're going to trade hype, make sure you're being very, very careful, and that's probably the most risky form of NFT trading. And two, this is the most important one, and it relates to the previous 2 trades. If you're up a ton of money in a short amount of time, that's when you want to sell, because if you're up a lot, and this ties into the third lesson, there's support and resistance levels that you guys have to keep in mind. I personally didn't believe this at first, but once I dove into the data, it was just really fascinating to me. So essentially, if you can imagine a NFT project moving up a ton, there's no support. So once the project shows any sign of weakness, it's not going to stop really anywhere except for the previous support levels. Or that's a very poor explanation of it, but I hope you guys can understand that. But basically, if it rockets up a ton, you should probably take profits, because once it shows weakness, it's going to go down a ton, which is what happened in this instance. So don't be like me, take profit, guys, especially if you're trading hyped up NFTs, because it's extremely risky, but you can make a lot of money from it. Then lastly, guys, moving on to the last trade of this YouTube video, and if you guys are enjoying, make sure to click the like button, and I am probably going to try to make this a series, because this has been a really fun video for me to record. But the Cool Cats, this was actually a profitable trade, and then it turned not profitable. So basically, I bought the Cool Cats dip, and I realized that, if there's a ton of sell pressure, or if there's FUD, that's when I typically like to buy things, and it usually works out pretty well. So for example, Cool Cats was one of them. I'm not quite sure what the news was, but I think maybe a wallet got hacked or something like that, but a ton of people were selling at the 6 support level, and I basically decided to buy there. So I bought a Cool Cat at 6, and I ended up selling it at 8 Ethereum, so we made roughly $6,000 to $7,000 at the given time. However, I actually did decide to go back into the trade because I was up a good amount of money, and I said, I like the Cool Cats, so I bought another one for around 7.5 Ethereum, and now it's currently sitting at a floor price of 3.9. 4.9, but I did actually cut my losses and sell at 4.4. So I did, I think, come out with a little bit of profit, but it's mainly just breaking even. And some key lessons here is buy the FUD if you are going to try to trade NFTs, or at least that's a decent strategy in my personal opinion. I'll probably cover it in a YouTube video, because once there's a lot of FUD, you know, it seems like it's just going to go to zero, but as long as it's not too bad and as long as it's a somewhat of a blue chip, you're going to see dead cat bounces. So that's exactly what I did. I bought the fear, and then once it bounced up a little bit, I sold, and I probably should have just exited the trade in hindsight, but it's totally fine. I went back in, I got attached to my NFT, and I didn't sell until it hit 4.4 ETH. So I did actually wipe out some of those gains, and this is just another lesson for me in the NFT space, and I hope you guys can take away something as well. So if you guys did enjoy the video, please make sure to click the like button and subscribe down below. I'm also going to be posting some lifestyle content too. That's always something that I wanted to post on YouTube, and I think it can be somewhat interesting. I hope. I like to think I'm somewhat of an interesting person, but I guess you guys can decide. So expect those YouTube videos coming out later this week to month, and I just want to say I appreciate you guys as always. I know I haven't posted a video in quite some time, so if you're watching this, appreciate the support. Bye.